G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. This is a forum at the Queensland Supreme Court in Brisbane talking about youth justice. This is part 3.
And in particular the prefrontal cortex, which isn't probably fully developed until you're 25. And one of the most important parts of the prefrontal cortex is that it governs executive function. Now, executive function, basically, I call it the CEO of the brain, okay? And it basically pulls together everything into a functioning whole and gives you a bit of cognitive flexibility. And what I mean by that, well, in fact, I can give you a good example. I've put my mobile on silent, but it's still vibrating, and I've had about 5 different phone calls while I've been sitting here. And so I'm feeling the vibration. I'm thinking, I wonder who's that is. I wonder whether, something's happened at home, or, you kind of think these things. But I think, no, I'm sitting here, I'm going to concentrate on what's happening. And I'm not going to look at my mobile. I'm not going to do anything silly. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be thoughtful. That's my I have a good prefrontal cortex, yeah? Okay, I'm just over 25. Okay? That is a good example of what the prefrontal cortex does. It pulls everything together. There's an inhibitory function there. I'm able to concentrate on other things. It gives you some thoughtful flexibility. We were all adolescents once, yeah? And the issue with adolescents is that they don't have that inhibitory function. Yeah, they do things impulsively without thinking. But there's another issue, and that's something that we're just starting to understand. Remember I said that the majority of these young people have been traumatized. There's a whole new area in psychiatry and mental health, which I label developmental traumatology. And what we know now is not only does trauma, early childhood trauma, increase the risks of a range of mental health problems, it also damages your brain. There's been good studies now that show with the frontal cortex that sustained verbal abuse reduces the size of your frontal cortex by up to 20%. Verbal abuse causes small brains.
Holy shit.
Now, and that was found in health, most of this is, I'm sorry to go on a tangent, most of these studies are done on healthy American college students, yeah? And so these are functioning adults. We don't know what happens for young people who have been chronically traumatized. And in 10, 20, 30 years' time, we'll probably look back and think, what were they doing? And what's happening to this cohort who are behind bars? I mean, you visit them there and they've got, all of these challenging behaviours and mental illnesses and traumatic backgrounds. They're behind bars. What sense are you getting, apart from, as you said earlier, some of them do manage to get off the drugs for a while, which is thankfully a benefit. But being in that environment, what's that doing to them? How's that compounding those issues? Well, for some of them, it actually helps them because they're out of the traumatic environment. They're getting 3 square meals, a roof over their head, and they're actually engaging with people who care. So for a small amount of them, they're actually, and they're safe from the drug dealer that's trying to catch them. Yeah? There are others who get triggered. They're in an environment where, especially, mentioned Indigenous young people, especially if you're an Indigenous girl who lives in the Cape and you're brought down to Brisbane on remand and you're pulled out from your community and plunked down in Brisbane, you're going to be anxious, you're going to be alienated, you're going to be scared. And so for those young people, it actually can exacerbate their mental health issues. So there's a wide range of consequences. I want to move on now and talk about one of the measures that's been trialled here in Queensland that has had a considerable amount of attention, the boot camp order that the government introduced a little while ago as an alternative, I suppose, to putting people behind bars in youth detention. Tell us a little bit about these correctional boot camps and what they involve.
As I said, the Queensland government has implemented 2 different types of boot camps, but the one of particular interest obviously for us is this current one, The correctional boot camp that's been introduced in Queensland is in trial mode. It was originally run at a facility in Cairns. They had to close that facility due to some problems with the scabies, and they are seeking to open the facility again, a new facility in Townsville. So in terms of what the outcomes and those sorts of things, there is no ability to talk about the Queensland experience. What we do know is the entry requirements and so forth of the Queensland model is that non-violent offenders have to consent in order to participate, and they are only from communities in which where the trial has been implemented. The biggest problem is the question as to why we're choosing to implement a policy like this when the evidence suggests that boot camps are in no way effective at reducing future offending.
Because the Liberal Nazis are not interested in evidence-based policy. Could that just be a conjecture?
Across the board, unanimously showing that there is no efficacy of the militaristic boot camp style programs to be separated from wilderness style and challenge the challenge model, sort of where the militaristic is based on a power and authority type model, whereas the wilderness thing is about increasing opportunity and challenging someone to increase their
This is why I have kangaroos and swamp wallabies as psychiatrists and psychologists. They keep me sane.
That's definitely what the militaristic versions that we've seen in the States have been. Unfortunately, the model that's been proposed in Queensland and it is supposedly rolled out, there is a very limited amount of detail as to exactly what is going to be involved.
So we don't know.
We don't actually know. What they are arguing is that there is a therapeutic component that is going to be part of that. That is the one thing within the empirical evidence in the literature that says that the boot camps are in no way effective at reducing offending, except if the predominant factor of the boot camp is a therapeutic approach. But in contrast to that, there is far more literature out there that says use a therapeutic approach without the boot camp as part of it, and you'll have positive outcomes in terms of therapeutic. So the therapeutic component, which is all about engaging with the families, engaging with communities, and assisting them over a longer term, there is no reason why those sorts of programs could not be already implemented in a current supervised order already. So what is the need then to...
So they're like the sort of outward bound type of approach, are they, where you challenge against nature and so forth?
Yeah, well, that's a completely different model. The model of military boot camps is all about the power and so forth.
And not many people have gone through these militaristic boot camps yet.
No, not in terms of the correctional setting. I mean, the trial had been started, and camp facility was closed because of problems, and so currently they're still
Looking for a new venue.
I believe they found one, but they're looking to open it up soon.
Okay, you said it was voluntary. Is it genuinely voluntary, or if you say no, do you end up in detention instead?
Well, it is an option. You can only be considered for the boot camp alternative if you are a person who's going to be looking at a detention. So they've got to have a pre-sentence report, and all of those things are done prior to them going into being recommended for the boot camp, and then they have to consent to any of the physical activities that are required.
Youth conferencing. Janet, this used to be something that the courts were able to order to get the offenders together with the victims, perhaps the offenders' parents, and extended community of people, and sit down and talk about what had happened. Courts now are not allowed to order these youth conferencing. Is that right?
That's correct. When the amendments to the legislation were made to introduce the boot camp model, the ability of the courts to order or to refer to a youth justice conferencing was removed. So youth justice conferencing is still able to be referred by police, so that still continues. But the courts, as I understand it, the courts police referral split was about 50-50. So it means we have lost quite a lot of referrals in that respect. And it seems a slightly odd decision, really, because one of the things that the policymakers have said they're keen on is adjusting the balance to make sure that victims are heard more in the system. And And yet this was about that very thing. It was about giving people an opportunity to hear from the victim what had happened, what that meant, and for the victim to also see that the young person, didn't have a forked tail and that sort of thing, so that they became people and just to, sort of reduce that fear then that people sometimes take if they have been the victim of a crime. So we've seen some really positive outcomes from that. Young people even being offered jobs by the store that had they'd perhaps stolen goods from, broken into, who've gone, okay, I'll give you a chance. If you're serious that you're sorry, come to my store, I'll give you a job, and you show me. And that's worked really well, and it's been a great benefit to everyone.
Earlier on, Stephen was talking about the cost effectiveness of early intervention. It is expensive, but over long periods of time there is some very good evidence to suggest that perhaps it can do a lot of good. Is there evidence that early intervention is effective?
Absolutely. There's quite a lot of evidence to suggest a number of, I think Stephen sort of mentioned quite a number of different preschool programs and nursing programs. These are all programs implemented prior to the age of 10 to have early intervention component. We do know that for a single chronic offender to continue for over 10 years from juvenile up until age 20, we know that they can cost the system up to an average of about $250,000 just for one individual. So even if you can, with an early intervention program that might cost, some of these do cost a considerable amount of money, but over the long term, if you can prevent those, even one individual from getting into a chronic trajectory, then you can make those savings. And it's not just even about the savings from early intervention or the longer term savings, there's actually savings that can be made in the shorter term. So you might have somebody that is on a moderate offending trajectory, so somebody who is currently in the system of what we would be considering to be eligible for thinking about for a detention order. There are intervention programs that have shown efficacy in lots of systemic therapies and those sorts of programs. What we're showing with our costing is that individuals on a moderate trajectory, if you can change them from being on a moderate trajectory from being a chronic offender to a moderate trajectory, so just adjusting the trajectory, stopping it, and stopping the intensity of that, we can save still up to $185,000 per individual just over that 10-year period.
Okay. Will you please thank our
$18,500 a year saving.
You've been listening to a discussion on youth justice held at the Banco Court at the Supreme Court of Queensland in Brisbane. The speakers were April Kronosky, researcher from the School of Criminal Justice and Criminology at Griffith University, Dr. Stephen Stathis, Clinical Director, Child and Youth Mental Service at the Royal Children's Hospital in Brisbane, Jan Taylor, barrister from the Queensland Bar, and Janet White, Director of the Youth Advocacy Centre in Brisbane. No time for questions, unfortunately. That forum was part of the Social Justice Forum series organised by the University of Queensland, Caxton Legal Centre, Griffith University and Queensland University of Technology. You can find out more by heading to the Big Ideas website at abc.net.au. Then find your way to the RN homepage and you'll find us on the program menu, from where you can download or podcast this and other Big Ideas discussions. I'm Paul Barclay. Hope you can join me again tomorrow night when we are...
Okay. Well, that was very fascinating. The idea that trauma in infancy causes brain damage to the tune of verbal abuse, cutting down on your prefrontal cortex volume by 20%, and that's in functional American college students. That's really scary. When you think of the number of children in bad marriages and fucked up Brady bunches who get continually verbally excoriated by their parents and their step-parents, the idea that verbally abusing a child can cut down on their prefrontal cortex by 20% is just staggering to me. And I've had a bit of experience of traumatic childhoods. I'm amused or bemused by the idea that coming here for half each holidays certainly seemed to work wonders for my two children. I think it's really, really sad and savage and vicious and brutal and stupid that the Queensland government is determined to crack down on crime regardless of the evidence of the ineffectualness and the inefficiency of their policies. Now, everything that they're planning on doing is going to increase the cost and worsen the outcome. And they're doing everything they can in the name of cost cutting to stifle anything that might work. And I can't see any way of making sense out of it unless you think that maybe they think the only way they can create an economic revival is to have a law and order led economic revival, and all the unemployable football, meat pies, kangaroos and Holden cars worshipping sheeple in the suburbs can get paid to have neat straight creases in their trousers and shiny shoes, and they can stand in neat straight lines, and they can lock up the victims of last generation's parental failures. And that's what the law and order led economic recovery seems like it's all about. $600 a day to lock a kid up. A juvenile in the Brisbane Youth Detention Centre. $600 a day. And they've got really good evidence that if they just implemented a few simple nursing interventions, I'm a registered nurse, retired, time expired, ex-registered, haven't paid my registration fee for a decade or so. But yeah, some simple nursing interventions. Sending a nurse to go and talk to the mother of the young babies who are at risk. Once a week, perhaps. For the first 5 years. That'll shave $180,000 off the cost of dealing with that kid the first time they break the law, if they break the law. I've said it before and I'm probably gonna say it again. When Nelson Mandela was in jail, Australia was a really fucking nice place to live. When they let Nelson Mandela out of jail, all of a sudden, instead of white South Africans having to leave their money behind if they didn't want to live in a slave-based dictatorship, totalitarian economy, Nelson Mandela, when the ANC made him president, he said, okay, all you fascists with a lot of money who don't want to live in a free democracy, take your money and go. And because the apartheid regime in South Africa was modelled on the Queensland Native Police scheme, for 20 odd years, the whole since 1994, they've been getting advice to go to Australia. It's the most friendly country there is for a white supremacist, especially if they've got a lot of money. Johnny Howard said, show me $1 million and you can come to Australia under the busyness migration scheme. And steadily, from the last 19 years, Australia's political climate has shifted 35 miles to the right of whatever Genghis Khan's position was on any fucking issue. And we've got liberal Nazi governments, minority coalition governments, except in Queensland where the Lib Nazis have merged. Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, West Australia, Northern Territory. There's a Labor government in the Australian Capital Territory, which is a bit of the Canberra sits on, and I think in Tasmania as well. It's a Labor-Green coalition. And for the last 20 years we've had whenwees, people who bleat on about when we were back on the Cape, when we were still in Rhodesia, when we could beat servants, and whenwees. They've showed up in Australia with a heap of money they got from stealing the resources of somebody else's land, because they were descended from fucking Dutchmen anyway. And they want to use those resources to remodel Australia so that they don't feel so nostalgic for South Africa. They want to see security guards armed with submachine guns on all the street corners. They want the blacks kept in their place. They want people to work at slave labour rates. They're fascists. They're fucking fascists. And the sad bit is, even if you were to put Nelson Mandela back in jail, it wouldn't make the bastards piss off and go back there. They've put down roots, and they are nostalgic, and they want to make here look like there. And it gives me the shits. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.